Mr. Metuh, can we take, for instance, just one instance, the NLNG payments, which you've also written on, about the fact that NLNG had tax breaks, tax break, a 10-year holiday from paying tax. The question is, they did claim that the NLNG had been paying dividends, and they say in very clear terms how much dividend the NLNG had paid, and they've been asking where that money has been remitted to. What does your party have to say about that?
This topic, because it's very important to explain it. Having a tax haven does not mean that you will not pay dividend. That's different. That's payment of taxes. And let it be said that in the past, as explained by the the authorities in LNG, they have been paying taxes to the appropriate authorities, the FIRS, and this goes into federation accounts, and that's the same thing that's been shared over the years. There is no need to start dramatizing them. On the question of this dividend, they were paid in 2014, and that was $1.4 billion, and we acknowledged it, and they went into the federation account as is expected to.
So now, you are saying that it is not new that the NLNG is paying, or any NLNG payments are being remitted into the federation account?
Absolutely not new. Absolutely not new. Acknowledged by the president.
Are you also acknowledging? Are you also saying in the same breath? Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Metuh. Are you also saying in the same breath this other instance where agencies, ministries, and parastatals are being asked to remit all the money they make into the federation account? Is it novel as well, or is this something that has been happening before now?
Where are they supposed to remit it to? This is something that's been happening for a long time. This is in the normal course of business, of governance. It's not a question to be dramatized. It's not something that when you really have nothing to do, when you have nothing to show that you have done, then you start chasing some wild goose, engaging in wild goose chase. Let me state that in the course of finding out exactly the position in LNG, I did speak with the former officials elected and appointed of our party. And they made it clear to me that the question of taxes, no taxes have been paid for a period of 10 years because they had a tax haven. And that the issue of dividend, that they paid it into federation account. But there is a particular information that was given to me that I think is important for Nigerians to have. That these LNG trains, Nigeria has an obligation to reinvest in this LNG project, and they have been saving money for it, and at the last count they had $5.6 billion reserved for it.
Where was it saved?
If we start depleting it, I wonder what will happen when it comes for us.
Where is it saved? Do you have an idea?
Where it is saved? By the energy? No, definitely I do not. But if they want, they can engage in a public, they can get in a public investigation.
Because essentially what they're saying here, Mr. Metuh, if I may clarify, is that there's been so much darkness, opaqueness, if you like, in terms of the runnings of, well, not the federation account now, but where the ministries and parastatals are concerned in terms of how much they make, how much they remit into the federation accounts. We also do know that it's been a problem a time before now. The Minister of Finance had, shouted herself hoarse in terms of how much the agencies and parastatals are keeping to themselves and refusing to remit to the federation account. So,
can I explain to you? The APC is the government in power. APC and this president, they're in charge of all government activities. They should go ahead and run this government the way that they want to. If they believe that things are not being done properly, they can correct them. If they believe that people had engaged in unlawful and illegal activities, they should please investigate and prosecute them. I mean, there's so much noise that is being made about things. We all have our own private companies, we have our own private families, and things that are within our own personal jurisdiction. We cannot be inflicting Nigerians with such information every day. We want to do this, this is what we'll do. Please go ahead and run your government. There are far too many things that we are concerned about that we have not, issues that we have to bring about. The issues for discussion are really issues of how is democracy being run? Because this is a democratic government. Mind you that any other government, whether military or democratic and engage in provision of infrastructure or fight against corruption or do all sorts. But in terms of practice of democracy, the tenets and the principle, how do you rate this government? And that's the only way that we can discuss about the activities of this government. On the issue of INEC, are they still maintaining the independence of INEC? With the appointment of security with the new service chiefs, are they really interfering? Yesterday, we informed Nigerians that the new Director General of DSS has engaged in tampering with the tribunal matters, especially that of Rivers State and other states. I mean, this is a very big information, and this is something that will affect democratic practice. I mean, there are too many things that we have to do. The deputy president of Nigerian Senate is being hounded, is being intimidated, is being harassed by the executive because he was elected by his own people. I mean, we've seen cosmetic governance where, in a question of 4 or 5 weeks, you dramatize the imaginary achievements, you refuse to take 400 million naira cards, you reduce your salary by 7 million naira, and you want us to consider these things as achievements. I mean, you tell us that you belong to nobody and you belong to everybody, and you embark on a trip to South Africa, and now you're going to the United States, and unlike what happened in the past, you do not even seek the collaboration, cooperation, and participation of other political parties. You go with only your political party people. You have an interest in the National Assembly, and you state, I don't want this person as Senate President, as Deputy Senate President, and yet you tell us that you belong to nobody. You definitely belong to your political party, and you are definitely trying to polarize the body politic. And it's never happened in the history of this country.
Chief Metuh, if I may come here,
when you flip-flop, where there is so much confusion on whether IT has been banned or not banned, removal of roadblocks, have they been removed, checkpoints, or I mean, there's so much confusion going on. The ambassadors, diplomats, have they been recalled? Have they not been recalled? Accountant General comes and says, okay, it was removed from excess crude account. Lai Mohammed collaborated. After 10 hours, when PDP releases their statement, you come back, you flip-flop, that no, it was not from excess crude account, it's not from LNG, which we are still battling. I mean, listen.
Okay, Chief Metuh, if I may come in here, Chief Metuh, you've talked about a lot of things.
Abandonment of your campaign promises. How can you start explaining to us the difference between roadmap and manifesto? You lie to Nigerians about certain things that you want to implement, and you come to us and you want to explain the difference between roadmap and manifesto. Roadmap, okay, let us say roadmap is your false promises, and your manifesto is now your...
Metuh, can we just put in a question here? You've talked about a myriad of issues. But one question I'd like to ask you is, if your party was in power, would you have allowed the APC to be Deputy Senate President?
If we had an option...
If you had the majority in the Senate, would you have let the an APC member be Deputy Senate President?
We had the knowledge, the tact, and the strategy to achieve things that we wanted, and have our people to not to allow that to happen. But if it ever happened, we will no longer interfere in the affairs of the Senate. Now the Deputy President of Senate was voted by not only PDP people, but by APC senators.
So you're saying that, you're implying that the APC does not have the knowledge to carry on running the National Assembly? That's why they allowed this happen?
In terms of politics and strategy, they are being sustained by PDP people that went to APC. By the new PDP group is sustaining them. They are well vexed in being in opposition. But in terms of running a government or strategy or whatever, they're quite naive.
Let's look at the issue of governance. The PDP has been accused of running down Nigeria in 16 years. Would you say you did not run down Nigeria?
Our president said something that actually I liked when he was running. When he went to United Kingdom to make a statement, he said, I cannot change the past, but I will affect the future. We want him to affect the future. There is absolutely no need for us to dwell in the past. And I don't want us to engage in whether we did this or we did whatever PDP did in office. What is important right now is what are we being offered? What is this government actually doing? And
but
that is why
if you want to look at what
there is no policy trust.
Chief Metuh, if you want to look at what you're being offered, you need to have an idea of where you're coming from. As they say, if you do not have an idea of your history, you might not have a clear picture of your future. So why don't you take a look back and see where you're coming from before you move into the future? So did the PDP run the nation aground?
Totally no, totally false. We made a lot of improvement. You want me to recap on achievements of the PDP on every single sector?
No, not necessarily.
That in the past, in less than 1 year, it's not 1 year ago that the entire world acknowledged that we're the fastest growing economy in the world. You want me to recap? Have you seen the growth of inflation in the past 2 months? Have you been to market to buy tomatoes?
Chief Metuh, Alhaji Mohammed sat down here and reeled out some debts that some ministries are owing, totaling almost ₦1 trillion from ministries that were under the PDP. That's just one side.
Can I tell you something, please? United States of America is the highest, one of the highest countries that are in debt. Do you know how much they're owing? Do you know how much United Kingdom is owing? Do you know how much these banks, private banks, are owing, or private companies? Do you know the indebtedness of the richest man in Africa, Dangote? Do you know his exposure?
Chief Metuh, if you're looking at the debt structure of all these people you've talked about, you'll also be looking at infrastructure in place. Is there infrastructure to match the debt that is being owed? Would you say there is something like that? That you say that money that was borrowed was used for this and that and that?
Definitely yes. Definitely yes on the issue of transport, on what we provided, and having railways to run again after almost 30 years. Definitely yes in terms of the improvement in the health sector. Definitely yes in terms of the investment in power sector. Definitely yes in our school system on providing, building universities, federal universities in all the states of the Federation, having them. Definitely yes in terms of a lot of things. But I must tell you something. You know, part of this debt that is being highlighted are debts that are being owed to Nigerian private companies. People who did jobs, who did contracts, who did some other things for these ministries and this parastatal. I mean, government is still going. If in the building of the helipad, that was the first project that was awarded to this government, if they do not pay that debt, and after 4 years, that is still a debt that you need to pay. So in terms of what they're engaging in, I mean, dramatizing our debts and trying to scare away foreign investors, we would like them to understand that they are not the opposition party. They are the government in power, and whatever utterance, whatever statement that comes from them will influence the psyche of the foreign investors that want to come into Nigeria. They should be very, very careful.
Well, that's where we'll anchor. Chief Olisa Metuh, National Publicity Secretary of the PDP. Thank you for talking to us today.
Yeah.
All right, then we'll be back after the break. Don't go away.